Today is Sunday, July 23rd, 2017. This is Celtics Beat on the CLNS Media Network, and I am Larry H. Russell. It is the fourth Sunday of the month, and the Celts are still not done with their offseason. Spending to the salary cap, the Celtics are still active in the market, officially bringing two more players into the fold this week. But the big question, is there still more to come? Celtics Director of Player Personnel, Austin Ainge, here with us on episode number 219 of Celtics Beat, being presented by ZipRecruiter and HelloFresh. So when will us in the media be permitted from dedicating a shrivel of our attention from anything but the Celts? I mean, are you guys done yet? Seriously.
Never done, Larry. You know better than that.
Good. I was worried though about your well-being too, because I mean, I want you to focus on leisurely activities and getting 8 hours of sleep.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Because of course, the reason for that is I want you to be sharp for broadcasts like this, Austin. And that being episode number 219 of Celtics Beat, being presented by ZipRecruiter and HelloFresh. HelloFresh.com/beat30, BEAT30 for $30 off your first delivery for the tastiest meal kit delivery service. Here with Austin Ainge, Celtics Director of Player Personnel. Last time you were here, Austin, Christmas morning, the real one, yes, December 25th, we released the broadcast. You were set to travel out west after the new year for scouting various collegiate prospects. I'd love to call this show our official off-season in review show, but it is not, as you have advised, so that is going to have to be saved for another Sunday, believe it or not. But nonetheless, we're going to deep dive upon just about everything of relevance that has happened over these past 2 months or so throughout the course of this broadcast. And I should first ask, what has your everyday life been like since the draft lottery? Because if it's been overwhelming for us fans, Lord knows what it's like for a high-ranking team exec.
Boy, yeah, that's a big time span. Some of those things seem years ago. I think we made the trade with Philly with the draft picks a month ago or so, and that feels like a lifetime ago. A lot has happened. It's a lot of fun, though, Larry. A lot of big moves. You know, these have been important years for us. The last couple years with cap space and a million draft picks and a good team. So it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. It's an exciting time to be part of the Celtics front office, that's for sure. There
were a lot of transactions, as I've known now, over the last month and a half. It really sapped my energy a little bit. I confess to that. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It really got at me. I think I did a show. And this is even, I really wanted to call this our official off-season in review show, but you just sort of gave it away in the sense that it's never over. So I guess I'm going to push that back another 2 weeks or so. And I know you're involved in the draft, and you did allude to that trade with Philly and that transactions, and we can get to the draft or even that deal with Philly, because like I said, there's just really so much to get to, and I can say stay tuned for this, but it is a podcast after all. Listeners can skip to wherever. There are timestamps in the show description if you're listening on the CLNS Media mobile app. And in this case, I wouldn't advise to skip because, Austin, I'll ask point blank, are the Celtics better at this present moment on this Sunday to the team that was in the East Finals way back yonder in May of 2017?
I think so, but time will tell. We have a lot of new pieces. You know, we have some key guys returning, but we have a lot of new, obviously Gordon Hayward and Marcus Morris and Aaron Baines and Jayson Tatum, along with lots of other young guys have been added to the roster. So we'll have to see how everybody comes together, but I think the overall talent level is better.
We're not allowed to reference players who are now no longer on the team. Is that correct? We can just safely hope that our highly intellectual audience can put everything together and know what we were mentioning, because the Celtics...
No, we can reference.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, okay. That's very good, because it's funny. I actually had many people bring it up to me saying, hey, here's my quote-unquote hot take. The Celtics, with all of said additions, may not very well be better than they were last year, because we think of the Celtics signing Gordon Hayward, having a top 3 selection in the draft, making some other veteran additions. Yet because there were so many transactions, it actually does make you forget about the loss of Avery. And I know you were a huge Avery Bradley fan. You would used to go out of your way on this broadcast to talk about him, and for the loss of Kelly Olynyk. So it actually did make me wonder. You would say, listen, I personally think the Celtics are better, not just on paper. I think it will play out at the end of the day next season. Of course, once again, barring major injuries or whatnot, that they are a better team. But it is actually a fair question to ask that they may not be better than last year's team.
Yeah, I mean, look, Avery and Kelly and Amir also, who we didn't talk about, played big roles on our team and did a lot of good things for us. But it's the nature of the NBA. Guys' contracts are up. And I think we're better this year, and even more important, I think we're better suited for the next few years, which is also very important.
Was that the primary mindset of this offseason, was to be better suited and better situated after this season, or was there really? I mean, or did the organization go about saying, okay, I mean, let's specifically cite Gordon Hayward now? The signing was made official. Not this Friday, but I believe this past Friday, so we can obviously talk about him. But
yeah, I mean, because we've had the luxury of a lot of draft picks over the last few years. I think we have some decent depth, and we've gotten lucky in some trades and signings where we've gotten some role players on lower contracts. So the top end of our roster is really the goal. I mean, you got to have really good players, Larry, as you know, and when Isaiah wasn't on the court last year, we did have some offensive lulls when we played the very, very best teams. We didn't always.
You're referencing that stretch in December, right? Not the playoffs.
No, I'm just talking in general. Even normal games when Isaiah's on the bench.
Oh, just not being on the floor. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the time he was out with the injury, and they did lose games like the Spurs and the Thunder and Toronto, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think everybody realizes how all the Celtics fans can see how important another offensive creator and scoring threat is for us, and that Gordon Hayward can add. I mean, he's a legitimate threat off the ball and on the ball, and a two-way player. So I mean, it's a huge addition to our franchise.
Oh, interesting, because I was going to ask. We were talking about sacrifices, and there were there were technically some sacrifices that needed to be made. So, sticking on the theme of sacrificing, how much do you think that the Celtics sacrificed defensively with how they built this team this year, as opposed to what they ended up losing?
I think we'll be a better defensive team next year, and that's not about any of the individual players we lost. Actually, we're all pretty good defensively, but obviously Avery's an amazing defender. But I feel like we add more size, right? Gordon is 6'8", Marcus Morris is 6'9", Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum have size. Marcus, I think, will play less 3 and more 1 and some 2. I think Marcus Smart. Sorry, yes, yeah. Thank you. 2 Marcuses now. But I just think that we'll have more positional size and more flexibility there. 2 through 4 will have more size on the roster and on the floor.
Just so you know, quick caveat, one thing. I'm still having – I went into this interview still thinking like, okay, I cannot mention specific players, and I have had that really – and you said, oh, no, you can. You can talk about Avery. You can talk about Kelly. And in this case, I was trying to specifically mention Avery, yet I've gone into this knowing that, I just can't talk about that, that I have. And also, too, I mean, if I may interject, I assume the organization does expect some sort of leap from Jaylen Brown, and thus not just more size, but what I even said last week with David Aldridge and I think even Danny LaRue, and I hope I didn't undercut Danny LaRue by short selling him in that regard, is I think that they're going to be a lot longer, because I think that Jaylen Brown is going to play a lot more, not a lot more, but a bigger role, as he did when he started at shooting guard in Avery's absence last year, and I think that will, help in the length and agility department as well.
Yeah, we expect Jaylen to be better. We expect Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier to make strides, right? Those guys at that age can really improve still, and they have the ability and the athleticism to help us on the defensive end and the offensive end.
Brief pause in the action to utilize this time for a brief announcement on behalf of the CLNS Media Network. CLNS Media's new website, clnsmedia.com, is set to launch this fall and will feature audio and video content across all realms of our everyday lives. Building upon our incredible success as the leading online provider of audio-video coverage for the Boston Celtics, CLNS Media is expanding in the fields of finance, law, current events, entertainment, and of course, sports. From the legendary Bob Ryan to Jim Grant, the network will feature independent, original, and unique forms of broadcasting available to you, our loyal consumer, on the free CLNS Media Network mobile app and its YouTube channel at youtube.com/CLNS Media. And as we say, do not sit on the sidelines as we make history. Get on board the white-hot CLNS Express. We are hiring both AV production, graphic design, staff writing, social media to work alongside our celebrity personalities, and we are doing so utilizing ZipRecruiter, where we get all of our candidates in one place with just one click. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. You hate this question, but I love this question, so I just look at it as a wash, so therefore it's even. But I was going to say, do you have like an envisioned starting five or an envisioned Celtics rotation here on the third Sunday in July, where you just think, I know you can say, oh, so much is going to change, preseason, training camp, and we know, but do you have sort of like, you ever just like, whenever you do meditate or reflect, you think you take a deep breath and say, yeah, because I know that mind does wander, Austin.
Oh, I've penciled some possibilities out, Larry, and I think Brad will experiment. I also think that that people maybe worry about it too much. The closing lineup matters quite a bit, but really we need our best 8, 9, 10 players to play well and to give Brad options based on matchups and how guys are playing and how guys are fitting together. I think that matters. We need our top 9 players to be really good more than we need to figure out exactly who's starting.
No, I was going to say, feel free to echo what you penciled out in your minds with said top 9 here.
Oh, no, I'm going to let Brad do that throughout the season, and I'm going to let guys earn it before I just throw it out there what I see, but it would just be a guess anyway. So I think we should let the players duke it out a little bit. A little competition's good.
Well, feel free to pass that message along to Brad, and Brad can he can be the one who plays spokesperson on this particular broadcast. That would be.
Well, Larry, during the year when I'd listen to your show every now and again, you were always so concerned about Brad's rotations and if Kelly Olynyk played this game, this many, or Amir, right? So I'm going to pick on you a little bit here. Sometimes it's okay to switch it up. It's okay to change based on matchups, and there's also a lot of health things that we can't always disclose all of that, bumps and bruises, and so coaches switch that stuff up quite a bit, and I think Brad will again this year.
Well, what do you want me to talk about during the Celtics season? There's only so much I can dedicate this show to grass-fed steak.
It's a good point.
Well, I know you're involved with the draft. We talk about that so much, and this is going to allow us. I guess you can throw whatever you want to say on the Philadelphia trade, but we may as well sort of just go to Jayson Tatum. And I just have one theory, and I talked about this with Jeff Goodman, is that it doesn't seem like Danny Ainge seems to mind players who may be lukewarm coming to Boston as long as they're established veterans. However, there seems to be I can call it a trend, as in the last 2 drafts, both Jaylen and Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, of course, have offered, enthusiasm both publicly and I would venture to guess privately, judging from what Jeff has reported and what those players have said themselves publicly to the media, enthusiasm about being Celtics more so than their peers or those who they were drafted around. Is there anything to that? How much? I know, obviously, you or anyone else, Mike Zarin, Danny Ainge, or anyone else who was involved in the decision-making process, but how much to that does the organization value in players like Tatum and Jaylen, who seemed like they wanted to be Celtics more than anyone else who was drafted around them?
I don't I'm not sure that that's true, Larry. I mean, you can never know. I don't claim to read these guys' brains, but we talk to all these kids, and they're all excited, man. I mean, except for Lonzo Ball, who didn't come and talk to us and work out with us. Everyone else was very excited. And this year, and I'm trying to even remember last year, I felt like, except for the guy who was slated to be number one, who didn't need us at number 3, everyone else was very excited to be part of the Celtics organization. So I don't think that really was a huge impact in our decision making. It's always nice, and they're really nice kids, which is a big part. We put a lot into the character and work ethic and their off-court life and their drive to be great. That's a huge thing with 19-year-olds who, none of which are really ready yet. They all need to get a lot better. So it's more about their physical tools, their internal drive. That's what we're looking at more than anything.
Maybe my mindset is swayed too from watching so many post-draft press conferences and all the coverage that CLNS does when they talk about how much they talk about being a Celtics. Okay, when I'll ask point blank, why did you guys pick Tatum?
His size, his brain, his beautiful shooting touch, and his versatility. Brad really likes the idea of having a bunch of 6'6" to 6'9" guys that are interchangeable and multi-positional and multi-talented. The skill level and is really amazing for his size, and combine that with his personal character and drive, we think he has a chance to be great.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, we got a chance to draft another player of his caliber either next year or the year after, which was another huge part of it.
Wick, after and may as well, I was going to give you sort of one final parting shot as a post-mortem towards the end of our chat on the Philadelphia trade. Like I said, it's actually been so long ago. We may have even forgot what yourself may have been thinking at the time, but it did. I do remember Wick specifically saying that he made some sort of religious correlation of what would have to happen if the Celtics were to part with the number 1 overall pick. I can't remember. Was it sort of like a Godfather offer or something to do with I don't even know what it was. Is that exactly sort of what happened with the organization? They were given said Godfather offer, and could you sort of take me back or take us back and tell as much as you are, feel comfortable in saying of what really went into that decision-making process? Because from us on the outside, that seemed like it happened like over the course of 36 hours. There was, hey, Markelle Fultz's workouts weren't all that great. Then the next thing 36 hours later was that Friday afternoon at around 4 o'clock when the Philadelphia trade seemed done. And of course, another 20 hours after that, it was officially completed. So sort of take us back to that, what was it, like 6 days before the draft, 6 to 8 days before the draft, where everything seemed, at least for me, it happened very, very fast.
Yeah, no, I mean, these things happen sometimes fast. This one wasn't particularly fast. It's hard to know sometimes when or why some things are in the media and some things aren't. But valuing the number 1 pick, I think what happens there, Larry, is it starts theoretical, and the number 1 pick is obviously a very valuable asset to have. And then as you get deeper and deeper into these players, the specific players on the board, it becomes less theoretical and more about the exact names, right? And then when you're sitting there and you're going, okay, who do we want? And if we felt in the end like we were going to take Jayson Tatum either way, then we go, hey, maybe we can still get him and move down. And that's kind of the process.
Was Jayson? I'm going to continue to shout Jeff Goodman because we like him, and we like him because he literally appears on this show whenever we ask him, even at the most hectic times, as in a couple hours after the draft. So I'll give him his little hot take shout out. He called Jayson Tatum the most impressive player in the Summer League. Now, I'm not going to say that you have to say that, but that is sort of a way for me to lead into you giving Jayson Tatum a Summer League appraisal and what we've seen of Tatum thus far. And once again, what seemed like eons ago now, NBA Summer League. Wow, last week. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Jayson played great. He can really shoot. He can pass. His defense was better than we even thought. We really put the kind of emphasis on him to work on that because we thought it wasn't maybe his best feature at Duke, and he played tough, good defense. And he's really got a maturity about him, not just as a person, but as a player. He's got a good feel for the game. It comes easy to him. Picking things up, learning new skills, new schemes, it comes naturally to him. And we were extremely excited after having him in Summer League. We like him even more than we thought.
Is that a facet that you think is one that he has the potential to improve most upon, is his defense? I mean, Jeff, I'm citing Jeff because, listen, I don't watch as much college basketball as he does. He actually said he could be a little questionable in the NBA no matter how intelligent, no matter how high his basketball IQ is. It is defensively, it may even then not come together all for him. Yet there were times, I don't really want to attribute this to Brad, yet whatever reason this is mushing together for me, in that the organization did feel that he had the potential to have some versatility, at least defensively. Maybe not be a lockdown at numerous positions, but is there potential there for him to improve on what is pretty much identified for him as a weakness coming into the league?
Oh, absolutely. Look, he just needs to get stronger. And he'll learn the techniques. Like I said, he picks things up super quick. Already in Summer League, we saw big jumps there. And when you're tall and you're smart, that's half the battle. And then he just needs to get stronger for a few matchups.
And the other half, I assume, is just being able to make shots and put the ball in the basket. It's really that simple, huh?
Yeah, that
facetious
part he's always done.
That was
that part he's always
question.
Done. Yeah.
Are there any other Summer League impressions that you had? I confess I caught the first few games in Utah. Of course, I saw the glorious moment of his game winner in the first game, I believe. But I was not able to catch much in Vegas. So we had Danny here and David Aldridge here last week to help me out and, of course, bestow their intellect on the audience themselves. But may as well go to the first-hand source, Austin. And what other impressions that you had? Obviously, I know Semi Ojeleye was someone who jumped right out. Ante Zizic was someone who everyone had an eye on going into Summer League because there seems to be a little bit of an onus on him next year. Really, just take the floor on really just any musings when it comes to Vegas Summer League.
Oh, boy, I've got a lot. It's hard because we had so many of our guys playing.
Lay it all out, baby.
I don't want to forget anyone. I thought Jayson played great. I thought Jalen played well. We were, Jalen's numbers weren't as eye-popping because we were moving him around. We were playing with him at point guard even, and just kind of experimenting with Jalen, using him in different spots. But he was really good. Shemi was unbelievable defensively. We had him guarding centers and switching onto point guards. Brad was experimenting with him, using him as a switch on everybody type of guy defensively, and he did remarkably well. His lateral quickness for a 245-pound guy is ridiculous. I thought Ante, the game was moving a little fast for him in Utah, played great in Vegas, which has happened sometimes. Let's see, who else? Jabari Bird had some good games. Kadeem Allen is a great defensive player, had some good games. Who else? Abdul Nader. Abdul Nader played is a great offensive player, had some really good games. So I think that's all of our draft picks that played.
You referenced Jayson Tatum needing to get stronger. That, of course, sent off a little trigger for me. This I can even really just finish on this, and it's a very general question, and it's something that I've written numerous columns. I would love to say on the old CLNS media website about sports science really being the next frontier. And I know that sort of correlates with the new technology that's going to be in the practice facility. And as we all know, that it's a lot more. I mean, everything from neurology goes into it, recovery. It's a lot more than I would love to say. Eat your protein. Go to HelloFresh.com. Use code BEAT30 to get high quality ingredients delivered right to your doorstep. But, the organization, there were some changes that the organization did make over the past 10 days. But that I can generally ask, what type of frontier do you see sports science being? And, of course, what is the Celtics outlook into that? I've always looked at it as this being the revolution compared to really what analytics and Moneyball was back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, there's science keeps chugging along, Larry. We keep learning more, and obviously, there's always kind of ups and downs in the science and the studies, but in general, we're moving upward and onward to more and more knowledge, and we're just trying to be the best we can be as an organization. Our players is the product, right? The players' health is a huge determining factor in our success, and we're just trying to be the best that we possibly can, and we feel like we're making improvements there.
And fittingly, Danny Ainge's own personal little ATM machine, Brian McKeon, I think he's got a lifetime deal no matter what, just for that reason on its own right. Austin Ainge, Boston Celtics Director of Player Personnel. I would love to say you're so excited for the season. I'm so excited for the season. Everybody go out and buy tickets right now, even though they're not on sale, so you may as well get season tickets. But I do wish well wishes on we're going to go with sports science, recovery process here over the next 6 weeks or so.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks for having me.
A spontaneous sound effect, I swear. But nonetheless, an accurate reflection of the musings of one here. Once again, Austin Ainge, Boston Celtics Director of Player Personnel. Great performance. Always authentic and honest with us, and push them as far as we liably can. We're here to win friends, but most importantly, the hearts and minds of our dear listeners. Anyways, it may not be most prudent on his or anyone on the Celts end to give anyone on the Celtics, the actual roster that is, to give any perception whatsoever that there are certain favorites that they may have, even if it is just quote-unquote brainstorming in his mind or any's. A front office member purveying his favorites for the starting unit and rotation may not be as endearing to the psyche of those names he'd either undersell or, God forbid, outright leave out. Definitely a controversy not worthwhile for the organization on July 23rd. Yes, let everyone earn their keep in training camp, as it will be another interesting one. That being camp in preseason, and I guess November, December, and God forbid January if it comes to that, as Austin alluded to, and I think we all know, as it's been an under-the-radar story in its own right, with how much is going on. The Celts information landscape has outright erupted over the past 60 days, and so much has been smothered with abstract molten lava. But that is another season of tremendous roster turnover. You know, really since about the season after the championship year, way back yonder, no, oh my God, 10 years. It's been 10 years since the team lost the title, oh no. But starting in 2010-ish, which, I don't know, can you call it the Rasheed Wallace year? Because that was the premier free agent signing that year. Rasheed Wallace, the first quote-unquote major free agent the Celtics have ever signed, or Dominique Wilkins. Anyways, last year was kind of the exception, where it was predominantly just the addition of Horford, a big addition, yes, but if there's one player in the NBA who can, to use the phrase, quote-unquote, slide right in, it's him. But since the turn of the decade, every year, Boston is working in numerous new pieces to not just the rotation, but the starting lineup. The finishing group, too. And every season for a decade now, we really don't know what the starting five is going to be. Back during the title years, or the year and a half they were sort of together, it was that Rondo, Ray, Pierce, Garnett, Perkins, the infamous starting five that never lost a playoff series, didn't change, didn't budge at all. And it's more extreme now because whereas with Garnett, Pierce, Ray Allen, we'll mention his name, right? Their top end of the roster was established. Even Rajon Rondo, too. Throw him as he took on a major role starting really in the playoffs in 2009. But the top end of the roster was established. It was more about back then. They had new benches every year. We went from Posey and Eddie House to Rasheed Wallace and Marquise Daniels. And then they had, who was the 2012, who were the names that they brought in? That was the infamous strike year. They brought in Brandon Bass to be on the bench. Chris Wilcox didn't have but they were new bench units every year. Well, then there were some changes. Perkins 1 year, then it went to Shaq the next, then Brandon Bass ended up starting. But as Austin said, now it's the top end talent. One would figure that's much more of a challenge in that high usage players have a much to learn both about the system and plays, but developing familiarity and comfort levels with individuals in that they've yet to meet. Outside of I play for the Utah Jazz, I play for the Boston Celtics. They've really, they have not developed such comfort levels, and And, that's something that really hasn't been analyzed and was just sort of mentioned in passing by Austin. Not really been talked about one iota. And not because it's a small tale in its own right. I just think it flat out circles down to that there's been so much transpiring in the organization this summer. It really has not ended. That's good business here. It's good business for a podcast. It's good for the roundtable guys who go at it every day talking Celts on the YouTube channel. I should definitely give a shout to the CLNS Media YouTube, not just for those guys on Roundtable who do an incredible job, but all the new Celts, Marcus Morris, Aaron Baines, Mr. Hayward himself, the draft picks, more names coming in now with Shane Larkin. All their press conferences or conference calls, they're all available in full, in HD, for your consumption at youtube.com/CLNSmedia. Subscribe to youtube.com/CLNSmedia, imperative resource for your Celtics lusts. Plenty of ingredients there to keep things fresh as we get into the dog days, as we get into August. Anything that puts Daniel Theis and Shane Larkin and who gets the last roster spot, and it puts that sort of off as far as possible, I mean, I'm all for. And also, to the delight of many, there will be no, dear God, Jay Crowder signed an endorsement deal with Papa John's. Papa John's makes their pizza with GMO and pesticide-infested dough. Their cheese is pasteurized, thus many enzymes are killed and the protein cannot be adequately digested. That will certainly affect his own personal health, which means so much of the team, both now and in the future, will suffer. Oh no. His solution should be to go to HelloFresh.com and use code BEAT30 for $30 off your first order. Ha. None of that to the delight of many. But that, of course, okay, going way back, that, of course, is going to be a major intrigue, that being major rotation minutes needing to be allotted, and all the familiarity and comfort and general chemistry between teammates, needing to be honed, is going to be another 30-40% of the season of Brad Stevens' quote-unquote lineup experimentation. Can't believe Austin egged me on that one. We come on the air Sunday, as we know. The Celts say lose a game the Friday before. They lost the game because of X, Y, and Z happen. What are we supposed to talk about in this space? What's the alternative? Do what the mainstream outlets in Boston do and either outright ignore the team or create and inflate phony controversies to mask such lack of basketball intellect? We prefer the former, as I'm sure many of you do too. But the summer does allow us to certainly be more level-headed. I mean, the Celts, once they did make more moves this week, more moves, making the Theis signing official, Shane Larkin. By the way, too, can we certainly lay to rest any narratives of the Celts have been proactive enough as what has been placed upon them by those very sources within corporate media? We certainly can do so with what happened this summer. So, with that, we can move along. As this very party has heard, the Celts still are not done, yet. They're still exploring some possibilities. Thus, we cannot put the capper on the offseason quite yet, even though on this end, I certainly would have there would be no qualms about it. Both as a fan, feeling they accomplished everything and then some this summer. But the offseason in review broadcast, it lives for another Sunday on Celtic Speed. We will be here every Sunday per usual. But for those of you who still need hourly, not daily, hourly Celtics fixes, download the CLNS Media Network mobile app so that way you can listen to not just this show, but Celtics Roundtable, Celtics Stuff Live, Bob Ryan's podcast. Most importantly, on the go. You don't have to live in front of your laptop or your TV set. We allow you to multitask, enjoy the weather. 90-plus degrees 4 days in a row here in New England. So there should be no reason why you can't satiate your appetite for Celtics news and dialogue while enjoying the fruits of nature and life. We're here for you at CLNS Media, the only game in town for the NBA's winningest franchise, the leading online provider of audio-video coverage for the Boston Celtics. Download the app for free in the App Store right now, because that'll do it here for episode number 219 of Celtics Beat, being brought to you by HelloFresh and ZipRecruiter, ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan to try it for free. Music was provided by Chuck Dietz and Steph LeGrateau, for graphic designer Scott Dillon, and the founder of the network, Nick Gelso. This is Larry A. Trussell signing off for Celtics Beat, powered by CLNS Media.